Welcome to LifeTalk with Mariette. I am Mariette. This show is about the life lessons that shape us, what I've learned, what I'm still learning, and how we grow through challenge, awareness, and purpose. I will share personal insights to motivate and inspire you, and sometimes invite guests who do the same. At its heart, LifeTalk is about real stories, real growth, and meaningful connection. This is LifeTalk with Mariette. Motivational, inspirational, full of heart. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to Life Talk with Mariette. I'm your host, Mariette Cameron. As we move through life, there often comes a time when families are faced with important decisions about aging, health, independence, and the care of someone they love. That's why we created the Care Insight with Criscuolo. Trusted insights on aging, family decisions, and care at home. In this ongoing discussion and educational series, Al brings years of healthcare leadership, real-world experience, and a deep understanding of what families often face behind closed doors. Together, we'll explore the questions many families struggle with, but don't always know how to ask. Welcome, Al Criscuolo. It's a pleasure to have you on our program.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me on, and I look forward to our conversation here this evening.
Yes, we have a lot to cover, and here's what we're going to talk about. Who would you let into your home when families begin to worry, the caregiver behind the badge, when aging changes the family, when home is no longer enough, and the hidden side of aging. So we have a full program, as I said. So let's get started. You're tuned into Life Talk with Mariette. I'm your host, Mariette Cameron, with expert Al Criscuolo. Trust is often where the conversation begins, but for many families, the journey actually starts much earlier with small changes that don't always seem obvious at first. Al, let's talk about when families begin to worry. So why is letting someone into your home such an emotional decision? Let's start with that.
Exactly. It's an area that many families don't necessarily understand. We do have opportunities to work with folks that have had to have caregivers in the past for either their immediate loved ones or someone that they have taken care of before. But on most instances, it's a first time. They're not used to what the experience is going to be. They're not exactly sure what's going to happen. And it takes a little bit of time for us to walk them through what the process is going to look like, but more importantly, how we at Executive Home Care really work with them to guide them through each step of the experience. First of all, they might not have ever had the loved one going through a recovery or an injury that is involving them to have to be there. So,
yeah, and when you meet the families and you talk to them, what fears are you learning? What fears do they share with you, the families?
Well, first off, Mariette, they don't even necessarily understand the situation. They have been given a order from the hospital or the recovery center that says mom or dad, loved one, family member is about to get sent home and they're going to need care. And care has all different contexts to it that have to be considered. There has to be an understanding of what care is going to involve. Many times, the hospital discharge planners or the rehab center discharge planners talk about what's going to provide safety. And safety is the number one priority in any type of a discharge. And also at our agency, it's the number one priority: safety, confidence, and involving the home, making sure that there is proper setup for what's going to be required to take care of that individual.
Right. Now, you have approximately 120 caregivers. So we were talking the other day and you shared that with me. So what makes a caregiver trustworthy?
Well, at Executive Home Care, we actually have a pretty extensive interview process that we go through. We have them come into our office. We fill out an application in person. We talk to them about their experience. We talk to them about what their credentials are. we always look to see if we can have a individual that has the CNA license, that has experience in home care. You know, one of the major differentiators within executive home care is we look for people that have worked in the field. Maybe they worked in a hospital, maybe they worked in a rehab center, or had life experience. Many of our caregivers become CNAs because they took care of a family member. And going through that process, we give them a little bit of an interview. Mm-hmm. We talk to them, we give a skills test to see what their baseline is. And then we actually conduct a face-to-face interview with them, talking about what they'd like to do, why they're here.
So I spoke to several people, and when I learned that, people want to just make fast cash, or they just like to maybe dip their toes into the home health care for a day, for 1 or 2 days a month. Would you consider somebody like that?
We would not consider that to be a care provider that met the requirements at executive home care. We look for individuals that have compassion, care about the individuals they're taking for. The monetary component should never be the primary reason we would hire somebody, and we vet that through our interview process. We look at their background, see where they've worked in the past, and try to understand what is a differentiator of joining executive home care versus where they've worked previously. And in many cases, it's individuals are looking for an opportunity to work more one-on-one with people. They tend to like to feel like they help somebody one-on-one versus working in an environment where there's multiple patients being taken care of, or they're working in an environment where they don't necessarily feel rewarded.
Right. Now, Al, I would love to learn, give us a couple of scenarios when people really start needing help, and what does that look like? What does it look like?
It comes in multiple facets, Miriam. It comes from sometimes you show up at a holiday, you visiting with mom and dad, your aunt or uncle, and they just seem different. They might be experiencing forgetfulness. The house might not be in the same shape that you're used to seeing it in, or they themselves start to express concerns about being forgetful, not being able to ambulate as well as they have in the past. You notice that they're not going upstairs, and those are very big red flags that start to become triggers for why people reach out for help. Or on another scenario, they come out of a rehab scenario. Maybe they had a stroke, they were in for a knee replacement, hip replacement, experienced a fall, fell in a situation due to weather, and are now going through a change. And that change is not as easy for a person that's older as it is for a younger person that can recover quickly. So we usually get involved fairly quickly from a discharge planning. At executive home care, we go out and meet with the families and the individual themselves. We talk to them about what home care would involve, what situations they are looking for. Sometimes they have a loved one, they live with a spouse, they live with one of their children. But in many situations, they are independent, they live on their own, and they're trying to figure out, what am I going to do when I get home, and do I really need somebody? And so that part becomes very challenging because most people don't want help. They feel independent, they want to maintain their independence. So from our experience, we like to tell them, we're here to help you. We're not going to take over. We're going to help you do what you always did, but with support.
Right, especially for people that are very independent, but maybe they're going through a healing phase and they think they can still manage everything like they do every day. Everybody has their certain rhythm, and they go about their day. Well, now they're going through a healing period and they need some assistance. And many times they have adult children. They're really busy. They have their careers, or maybe they're out of state. And maybe the individual uh, doesn't like to bother in apostrophes their adult children. So there is a time for everything in life. I learned that, Al. I really do. And there's nothing wrong with asking for help, you know? So, but who you let into your home, that is important. That's how we started off with our first segment. That is very important. So, really screening the people. And I know you are a stickler for all of this because you are picking the people individually. Can you elaborate a little more on that?
Definitely. So at Executive Home Care, it is, as I said at the beginning, we require you to come in. We like to meet you face to face. We do a background check on you. We run through a third-party vendor, so it's completely vetted. We don't do the review ourselves. Once your background check has been run and it passes the standards, you have no criminal, civil, pending litigations. We then do what we call an E-Verify, which is a Homeland Security review. And that is an additional review that says you're actually having the right to be in this country and work. As many individual and many caregivers come from other countries, they come from other areas. We also want to know that there's no reason for them not to be allowed to work in the country. And to me, that's very important. All of us have the right to work. We look for people with ambition, motivation, compassion. Caring for others is the number one focus we look at. But we just want to make sure that you are allowed to be here and you are vetted by the process from the federal and local requirements.
Right.
In addition to that,
go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. In addition to that, they're all employees. Executive Home Care, every individual that works for the company is a W-2. We have no 1099s, which means that we do all the requirements as it would be for any employee of any organization, which really gives a commitment from the caregivers themselves, us as an organization, and then the commitment to the families. The families now understand that they're hiring an organization that employs people. There's many other ways that caregivers work for individuals. We at Executive Home Care do not allow that. So all of our employees are bonded, they're insured, we carry workers' comp, we carry the general liability. At Executive Home Care, we actually have excess liability for all of the additional issues or problems that could pop up. So when you hire a caregiver and you contract with a service agreement at Executive Home Care, you can be assured that all you're going to be responsible for is the fee and services we provide. Executive Home Care covers all the other requirements for individuals being in your house.
Yeah, and another point that just came to mind, they have to speak English because this is something that a lot of companies, not necessarily the home health care only, but a lot of companies hire people that cannot have a conversation on the telephone or in person because they just don't speak English properly. I think that would be very important to me if I had somebody taking care of me. I want to have a conversation with them and making sure that they understand what it is. You have to have a conversation with the caretaker. So,
Exactly.
How do you feel about that, Al?
Well, Mariette, it's definitely an area that we spend an inordinate amount of time on. Our team in the office are folks that handle the applications. We all know our expectations. We know our clients. I think as you and I have talked before, we go out, we meet with the families ahead of time. We meet with the families on the day of what we call our initial start. And the initial start is where we introduce the caregiver. We bring out all of our documentation. And it's important that we vet and understand what the client specifically is looking for. I'd like to make it clear from where we sit at Executive Home Care. Companionship is not only something people like, it's a requirement that we enforce on our team. So you're not going out there, you're not a robot. You're not there to perform a task. You're there to be part of the environment, their home. It's uncomfortable for them. They're recovering from something that they potentially didn't ask for. Some people have elective surgery, but they're there to make the person feel that they are not only important, but they're comfortable having somebody there help them. And doing that, there are language barriers. To be as transparent as possible, we make that clear, but we also understand up front what people are looking for as it relates to being able to hear, speak, translate, interpret. And our caregivers are definitely vetted on that front end of that to be able to know that it's a requirement to be able to hear, be able to speak and articulate what somebody's looking for. And we do have issues where we might have to transfer out a caregiver, or in other words, we do have bilingual individuals. We'll do clients that say, I need somebody that speaks this particular language or understands it. And we'll work our best to do that. But as you stated, English is the primary language that we serve under, and it's the requirement of all of our caregivers that work at Executive.
Right. And for instance, let's say if you do have a caregiver, if it shouldn't work out, and that's something that is really obvious in the first day, let's say, you can always accommodate the client with another caregiver, because we have to. Those are things that just happen in life. It may not be a match, and that's important to talk about.
And thanks for bringing that point up. The way it works with us at our agency is we tell everybody up front, our goal is to minimize the number of caregivers that are going to be in your home. We work very hard to align a caregiver that would understand the individual, has the skills and experience to work with them. Not everybody's worked with extensive dementia, progressive dementia. Not every caregiver's had an opportunity to work with profound rehab situations. We have caregivers that don't always necessarily understand some of the dynamics working with more difficult, challenging dual diagnoses that clients come to us with. So when we start a case, we make it very clear. Our team, our business development, community liaison, myself, as well as our office team, if they take the initial call, know that there's an opportunity to evaluate the home situation. We work to put the right caregiver into that environment, but we also tell the client, if for some reason it's just not something you are comfortable with, some people just aren't comfortable. Some people would prefer a male caregiver over a female. If that's something we do and then it starts and the individual calls us back and says, I'm not sure that this is the right fit, right? Right fit doesn't mean it's the wrong skill level. It just means that the individual might be looking for someone that could do or act differently. And that is very normal. What we like to say is we will identify a different alternative caregiver for you, and you just either give us a day, a couple days, or if need to be, we'll swap them out immediately. And so we always know in our scheduling and in our planning as we work to identify a team, if it's going to be a 12-hour case a day, if it could be a 24-hour case. If it's a live-in, live-ins are very specific for what they know how to do. They are usually a generalist that knows all the requirements according to what we deliver. So those folks can come in and be very flexible. They know how to handle families. They know how to do the multitasks that are required. And we will work very quickly to swap out those folks. And it's been well received. It's been well understood, so that we try not to surprise anybody at any moment.
And what really impressed me when I first met you, that you're really on the job. You are the person that knocks on their door first. You are the person that they meet first, and you go over their situation. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. It is the number one priority in any of our conversations we have. As I have said, and as you just pointed out, we do face-to-face. Anyone in our office can take a referral, take an inquiry, but after that, it really comes down to understanding the individual. We do go out, we do make the initial contact if it's a referral from the community, and a community is defined as somebody that lives in their home, the family lives in their home. They're not recovering from a rehab perspective. They're not recovering from a diagnosis that's just been identified. They're just an individual that now needs additional help, whether the family's identified it or they themselves identified that they need somebody. So that is really important to me. And it's really important to our office and our team, as well as our caregivers, because I promise every caregiver, and my commitment to our clients is, we will do what you've asked us to do, and we're going to deliver it in a way that meets your standards. It's not about us, it's about you. And you have your specific issues, requirements, challenges, and our caregivers will know that before they show up at your home.
Because many people would say, well, we hired such and such company, agency, and the owner was never available. Any of management, they were never available. That's not the case with you, because you get involved. I see you all the time. I see you. You're always running here, going there. You're involved in every case. In every case.
And I am, and I'm not involved in every case because our team is not competent or qualified, but my commitment to this agency was, if I don't want you, and if the caregiver doesn't meet the standards taking care of a family member for myself personally, I don't want them taking care of one of our client or client family members. And that's a big commitment. You can't make statements that you can't back up. And albeit we run into challenges, but we don't run into care challenges. We run into potentially personality fits and skill level. So that's really important that I make that point here today, is that what you told us, we work to deliver. What actually happens might be a different scenario. And that is the priority of understanding who our clients are, where they live, what the scenario and the situation is. And somebody coming out of a rehab or a hospital, we get a much clearer medical definition of needs versus an individual from the community that says, I need some help. Those require very different conversations throughout the time we spend before we actually schedule someone. So our caregivers know when they get the care plan that we give them, which is basically a line-by-line activity of events that need to happen throughout the scheduled time we're there. They understand what they're required to do. They provide the documentation in a care note. That care note supports the care plan that we met and drafted with the family and the individual client. So it's got a continuum. We understood up front what someone needed. We wrote it through a care plan. We identified the tasks and the timing and the activities. We built that into what comes out of our computer system, which is a care plan that now sits with the client in their home. It's on our caregiver's device, and it's then followed up with a documented care note that's turned in by that caregiver on a weekly basis, or when they finish the time that they're with the client. So we ensure everybody in the process that what you asked for, we delivered, and we delivered it through documentation.
So if the person is there for 4 days or 2 days or 1 day, everything, they know exactly right up front what is requested, and when their time is up, they hand that in. In other words, nobody goes on the job clueless. I want to say it just as blunt as I'm doing. Um, they know exactly what the person needs. That's it.
And that's the only way you can run a business like this.
Mhm.
It's a service business, but it's a human service business. This isn't generating paper reports. It's talking about coming into one of the most intimate parts of contact with individuals. We're in there providing personal care, bathing, dressing, washing hair, brushing teeth, providing medication reminders, helping individuals ambulate, transfer. And if you don't have a clear picture of what you're supposed to do based on what a client or a family member's asked for,
Right.
then you are violating people's personal space, and they need to understand and be comfortable that someone's going to help me do this. And most of our clients are very, very comfortable, and our caregivers are trained. You approach, you provide, you do as we've asked or been asked, and you assess and understand that that action of giving a bath, helping somebody transfer, helping somebody wash their hair, get dressed, have a meal, is individually delivered. And the caregivers we employ and the caregivers that work at Executive Home Care do that with the utmost respect and dignity. And dignity is something that if you can't demonstrate that on the interview, we really can't move forward with you, because we have many clients, we have many caregivers, and we do need to feel comfortable that every time someone goes and gets scheduled, that they're maintaining that personal dignity and respect to that individual.
I have a question, Al. Many people have pets and they're family members. So whether they have little dogs or cats, how is something like that handled? Can you give us a scenario, in general, what a case could look like or has looked like? Can you bring us into your world with that? And they have a little dog or a cat, and they want to make sure that little cat or dog is taken care of as well. Can you bring us more into your world and give us a picture of what a scenario looks like? A person that needs help, please.
Yes, definitely. Let me just take a step back on our caregivers when they apply.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the interview questions. Are you comfortable with animals? Are you comfortable with cats? Are you comfortable with dogs?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll know up front if that individual is even remotely interested in working with those type of clients that happen to have their animals. And we would never put them in a situation where they're uncomfortable, but some are allergic. Some are allergic to cats, some are allergic to dogs, some of them just don't like animals. So that's an initial conversation we have with our caregivers. When we take a referral, whether it's from a facility directly or it's from an individual in the community sending us a request through our email portal or through our AI chat portal on our website or the phone, we ask them, do you have animals? Do you have a dog? Do you have a cat? So that we understand up front, because we would never want our caregiver to be uncomfortable. And we also don't want to offend somebody that has an animal, that loves the animal, that now somebody else doesn't want to be there. So it is definitely a challenge to make sure that everybody's comfortable. And quite honestly, we also do very strong reviews of what kind of animal people have, so that it's vetted on the front end, and we make sure that it's a safety point that we cover from the agency's perspective, our caregiver's perspective, and the family member themselves.
Right, that sounds great. That sounds great. No, because we all have little concerns, especially when they're big dogs, shepherds, and all different breeds, and or if it's just a little lap dog. But the person has to feel comfortable with it. That's absolutely right. And a lot of people have animals. They live with their animals. I do too with my cat, and I want to make sure that that we both are well taken care of. Can we go into the emotional pressures that families face? Can we talk about that, Al, please?
Definitely. So, from our perspective, if they're coming from a facility, a rehab center, or a hospital, there's usually not as much time because it's a critical event that's occurring. They have to be discharged, right? Discharge is something we all experience when we go to a facility or a hospital. So there's anxiety or there's anxiousness about what are we actually getting? There could be, as I said earlier, the discharge planning team has specific requirements. Mom or dad have to go home with X amount of hours of coverage to be safe. And when we say safe, it's determined by the facility that they can walk or they can't walk. They can help administer their own meal prep. They can ambulate, transfer to a shower, bathe or not. And within that, each of those, they determine assistance level is going to be of the assistant level that's going to be required. And in doing that, that helps us determine from the family perspective, they now have to think about, do we do that ourselves or do we rely on an agency like ours at Executive Home Care to come in and help do that? And how many hours does that mean? And what does that look like? And how expensive is this going to be? Because the services at Executive Home Care are private pay. We don't take insurance. We do long-term care insurance processing where an individual has a long-term care insurance policy that they have paid for privately on their own, and now they're going to take the benefit of that. But that requires us to help them do that, handle the paperwork, and there's several steps that go through. But more importantly, when someone's just looking for help in the community, Mariette, there's the opportunity that those conversations take a little bit longer. Sometimes we're thinking, we're understanding, we're trying to determine. We don't know what it actually looks like. Mom or dad aren't going to be receptive to it, or vice versa. There is no family involved, and there's a friend, neighbor that's identified a crisis. So it really comes down to it depends. At Executive Home Care, though, we're able to respond fairly quickly. We work really hard to keep our team apprised of the amount of referrals that we need to manage. We also work very diligently to have the right caregivers available. So as I said, sometimes when we start a case, it could be something that won't be the long-term team. It could be somebody that just has availability with the skills required that help us get that started. And then while we look for the more long-term plan, and we actually work with the client to see the exact fit and requirements that they're looking for.
Right. There are many people that are single, they're widowed. Many people live by themselves. And the minute something happens to their health. That's just how life is. Nobody's exempt of it. It is important to know who you can call, who you can reach out to, and start a conversation and also a relationship. That would be very, very important to me. I don't come from the health industry, so I would ask you, because I want our viewers to understand, give us some real case scenarios. Because people say, oh, I don't get sick. I'm fine. I don't need any help. And then when they're really in a situation, then they don't know who to reach out to. So please give me some 2 or 3 cases that you have experienced, so we get the mind going of our viewers and listeners. So because when everything is great, we don't think about getting sick. We don't think, oh, we're handling everything, no problem. But no, we're talking about here, the health doesn't always stay the way the way it is. So could you give me some scenarios, please?
Sure.
I think that's important.
Yeah, and it varies at every level. I will tell you right now, we have a complex case. Husband and wife live independent. They live in a community, so they're not necessarily living in their own home. The community provides many resources, meals, entertainment. They even have a shuttle bus that would take you where you go, but it's an independent community. And the husband's doing his thing. The wife has onset early dementia, not an issue from a safety perspective. And unfortunately, has a stroke, the wife. Now she's in a rehab center, wanting to come home, not able to ambulate and walk on her own. The husband is going to tell us he can help. We've been working on the discharge weeks before the facility was going to start to wind down their care and determine baseline for discharge. And the conversation is, I can do this on my own. And that's the common response most people say. Not always the situation. You don't really understand what you see when you show up at the rehab center. Your loved one could be laying in the bed as his wife was. People don't stop in every hour. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So there's a perception and there's a perspective of, oh, I could do this at home. Forgetting the nuances of personal care, transfer, medication, and the true socialization. Most clients need help, but you also need the companionship, socialization, therapy intervention that you're getting when you're in a rehab center. So we spend lots of time. We all understand in the company what it means to come home. And those are very difficult conversations to have, because now you're trying to tell somebody that remembers what it was like before, and oh yeah, so now we're going to have to use a Hoyer lift to get them in and out of bed. That's not an easy task. Hoyers are devices that help, but you also need people that understand how and when to use those, as an example. So we work with the families, we try to make them clearly understand expectations, and then we start talking about what does it look like when that happens. Well, we sleep at night, right? You go to bed at night, I go to bed at night. For the most part, we stay. But what happens to this now newly onset situation where that person might end up having to go to the bathroom and nobody's there because you think it's going to be okay because historically you slept through the night. So those in that situation, you almost just have to experience it. You work diligently to determine what number of hours the family believes is appropriate, and then you have to very closely monitor that. So in this particular situation, it's a daily, multi-day conversation, because during the day we're there, in the evenings we're not. So you have to really help the family think about what's that going to be like when we're not there, and what do you do in the event something happens. So that's just one example where now we're working with a client that has dementia, has a newly diagnosis of a stroke, is trying to learn what life's going to be like and help navigate those scenarios where, truthfully, the burden should not be sitting with the family member. And I think many people have heard this in the past, right? Agencies like ours are here to help take that pressure off, to take that scenario to a much more defined approach with tasks and activities that are being maintained by an agency versus leaving all the burden and responsibility on a family member where now they're the caregiver and they're no longer the spouse, or they're the they're dealing with it on both sides. It's now a situation that you have to think very difficult scenarios are playing out where your independence and your responsibilities are now fully focused on the individual. So it's complicated. And, things like that we're very experienced with. And we will fluctuate that care plan. We can add additional hours. We can add additional people. We can add additional scenarios that can help alleviate and allow the family to still just be family and not be the caregiver family, because pressure happens and scenarios play out. So that's a little more complicated.
Mhm.
Another scenario that we deal with that we have right now is a younger person in their mid 60s, active, just entered retirement with her husband, gets diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So that changes everything in that family. We've got a procedure that's going to be going on. Somebody that was active, doing community events, enjoying early onset retirement, is now having to deal with, I can't walk up the stairs without having somebody potentially be behind me so I don't fall. I can't get up and make myself a meal. I can't help clean my home and do the things that I used to do. I can't drive my car. So we work really hard on situations like that, and we try to make sure that what that family needs, we're able to deliver, but we're also very honest with them about what tomorrow is going to look like when we leave, and what the next day is going to look like, and then what treatment's going to be, and how that's going to play into what they need to think about as a family and a family unit, to be able to now have a stranger in their home, somebody that they don't know, and feel confident and comfortable that what's happening is not only appropriate, but it's also alleviating that pressure on they themselves while they're going through a recovery, but also the family can be supportive and not just the caregiver, which is typically what some families think they're going to be able to do. So it depends. There's all different scenarios. We work very closely. We answer our phones 24/7. We don't use an answering service. We tell every one of our clients and our caregivers, if you have a problem, if you need to talk to somebody regarding your care, you call our office. The office answers the phone. We have on-call 24/7 when we're not in the office, and we will ensure we can support you as best as possible, that your needs are being met and you've got a voice that can hopefully help drive that next phase of your recovery.
Right. Al, I want to go back to the independent living couple where she had a stroke and she is in the rehab center. So once she comes home to the independent living place again, that's where you started taking over. Now, is that correct? Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, so our services begin the day you show up at your home. So you come out of the facility. We will meet you when you get there, whether you come home in a transportation vehicle, an ambulance, or you come home in a personal vehicle. Our caregiver is there to greet you. We take over at that point by the defined care plan that was built.
And I like to ask you where the husband said, well, I can help. I can take care of some of the things. So he thinks. Could you talk a little bit more about this case, how that evolved? Because it's quite difficult when people come home and then they really need full-time care. Can you talk a little more about that?
Yeah, I could talk about this for hours, to be truthful. It is very complicated for any family member. Again, people that have aged, they are independent. They like to be able to take care of themselves, and they just no longer can. And it's very difficult for somebody to say, I need help. So our approach to that is, you need help for a period of time. You don't necessarily need help forever. You might need less help. You might need more help. And so we try to make it something that is not overbearing or difficult for somebody to accept. It's more around, let's see how you do now that you're home by yourself and on your own, and your family's here to help you. But as you said, people have busy lives. Some people don't have a desire in becoming that personal care to their loved one. It's not something they're comfortable with. It's not something they can commit to, and it's not necessarily something that is appropriate. Some individuals just feel like that is outside of the realm as a family member. And so it takes a little bit of time to help bridge that transition. And again, it's not something that everybody can do or wants to do. And that's where we step in, because we can do it at all levels. Again, we could provide 8 hours a day. We could provide 4 hours a day. We could provide 24 hours a day. And we can provide a live-in. And a live-in is not necessarily an individual that works around the clock. It's a individual that is there for direct care, but then they sleep at night when the client sleeps.
Right. You know, Al, it reminds me of a story. A good friend of mine, Barbara, she passed 3 years ago. And one of her daughters, she had 3 adult children, and one of her daughters stayed with her day in, day out. And she felt very uncomfortable changing her mother's diapers. And they got more not changed than they were changed. And this is also so embarrassing for the mother. She has no other choice than accepting the help. But I remember that the daughter felt very, very uncomfortable, and voiced that to the other siblings as well. How they handled it, I don't really know, because she passed away. And of course, when that happens, you don't ask about diapers and the care and everything that she could have had. But it's tough. It's really tough. Not everybody's cut out for that. Just because you're a husband or wife doesn't necessarily mean you want to do this or you cannot handle it emotionally. It's tough. It's very, very hard.
I will tell you, Mariette, that is one of the number one things we do when we initially meet a family, because dignity and pride are shattered. And I don't say that word lightly, when now somebody has to have somebody else care for them. And it is more important than ever to maintain dignity. And our caregivers will not only maintain dignity, they provide that service that makes the individual client feel comfortable. And you're absolutely right. Whether it's a son, a daughter, taking care of the dad or the mom, that dignity should be maintained. And there are many family members that are very comfortable helping their loved one with personal care. But there's a level of dignity that we like to hopefully provide, that the family can still be the son, be the daughter, the husband, the wife, and somebody else is doing that work.
That's right. That's right. Why do siblings often disagree? I know it may sound silly. Why do siblings often disagree? The siblings disagree all the time, all their life, from little to when they get older. They disagree all the time, but especially when their parents now need help, one of their parents or both parents. So what really comes out then with the siblings? What could come out? It's not all across the board. I'm asking this, but what can come out? What have you experienced?
It is, again, one of those complicated situations where the siblings might be great, the family dynamics are great, and then there's not. There's dynamics where some individuals are heavily involved, they live locally, they're able to step in. Some of the siblings don't, and there becomes a sense of alignment that no longer meets the individual client's needs when the siblings have to participate. One of them might be managing the financial side. One of them might be managing the home themselves. That's where I think it's really important that we, as an agency, understand that on the front end. And we ask those hard questions. And we have to be able to think about, what do we do next? And that's where I ensure all of our clients that, do you have somebody? Do you have a DNR, which is a do not resuscitate? Do you have a DNI, which is a do not intubate? Like, do you have things in place that we should know about? And who is the responsible person that would help you? Like a power of attorney. Is one of your family members the POA? So that we understand on the front end, again, what is going on for you and what's going on that will help drive your care, because those are important understandings to have. Some family members say nobody's going to own my care but me. So that individual client will ensure that they make their own decisions as it would seem fit with any type of those conversations. Or the son or daughter are like, nope, I'm going to take care of all that. My siblings are good. We take care of each other. I handle this, and all is well. We have other scenarios where all the siblings, there could be 2, 3, are all on our service agreement. They all are involved in what happens, and that's just how it works out. So we'll take care of that on the front end throughout all those conversations.
So in other words, if Mariette needs help, I would say, Al, I really like to make my own decisions because I'm still of sound mind, and this may just be temporary. I wouldn't have to give you my daughter and my son-in-law's permission. They wouldn't be on the paper on my chart, just in case of emergency. Or how should I understand that?
That is exactly right. So on the initial discussion, we do that. We'll make sure that we know who you, client, are expecting to be involved. Mm-hmm. So that you're dictating the care. The service agreements are signed by the individual that's receiving it. Mm-hmm. And many families, I don't want to make it sound like it's super complicated. Many families say, my son's going to handle this, my daughter's going to handle that, my wife. And then some say, I'll handle it. I don't need anybody deciding how I receive care. And I'll let them know if I need their help or involvement.
Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds okay to me, because that in itself, it's a process. Me really having to give the power of making decisions, transferring it over to my daughter or my adult children. That in itself is a process. But as long as, and I'm just talking about myself now, as long as I'm of sound mind still, I like to make that decision. Together with you, because I will ask questions, why and how come, and together with you, we'll go over the plan and take it from there.
And that's exactly right. Again, as I said, we are very fluid, we are very flexible, mm-hmm. and we'll do what is needed. I think, again, when individuals come home after they've had an episode, a situation, they truly don't know the magnitude of what's going to happen. And that is one of those situations that we experience every time. So we prepare for that. We prepare for the fact that somebody comes out of a rehab or a hospital, the bathroom's 10 feet, 8 feet from their bed, and now at their home, it could be significantly different scenario. There could be carpets in the way, there could be things that they have to deal with. And those areas is where we step in and help. And then there's also the scenario of, somebody said they could be there, but something's changed and now they are alone. So again, safety is our number one priority, personal hygiene, as well as ensuring that the client knows that if things aren't working the way they were expecting to, that we'll help step in and get that fixed.
Right. And when a person is used to making their own decisions, and I just like to refer back to me, when I have to deal with a health issue, I'm having a heck of a time making decisions, because when I'm emotional and I'm worried, I can't think straight. So I always welcome if I have a person such as my daughter, or I have a daughter. I have a daughter, husband. So I prefer if my daughter would get involved in all of this, and she would. I think she would, because only I couldn't think clear. I couldn't make decisions fast enough, like I normally do when everything is okay. So I have to say that when things are not going, health-wise with me, I need help making decisions. So I would prefer if my daughter Heidi was on my chart. So you would have direct access to Heidi and work things out. And I would still would want to know what's going on, but I would prefer, while I'm in that state, to have help with decisions. Yes.
And that's exactly what we hope for. We hope for that it's a team effort. It's not an individual trying to dictate, but some people are very comfortable driving their own care and driving their own recovery. But I'm confident in saying that many family members help step in, even if they're not local. They could be in other states. They could have very demanding jobs that keep them away, but you text them. Thank God for technology as we know it. You can text them and they respond. We have a woman that we took on services about 4 weeks ago. Very wonderful lady, 2 great sons. She's a widow. One of the sons has a very demanding job. The other son is going to be getting married and moving out of the country. And I will tell you, the responsiveness of both of those children to their mother is amazing, which makes our job very easy. Makes our job effective to know that when mom client says she has a question, has a problem, or has something going on, we are able to resolve, and get direction from the family as to what the next step should be. So it just depends on how you set it up front. I'm very demanding when it comes to knowing how to respond in the event of I don't want to say an emergency, but a situation. And if I don't get the response I need, then we'll have to have the conversation about, this is what we agreed to, and it doesn't seem to be doing what we thought it was going to be able to do for us in the event we have to make a situation known. So it works well.
Right. Well, we're out of time for today. A special thank you to Al Criscuolo for sharing his insight and experience with us. We look forward to having you on for future episodes of LifeTalk. The Care Inside, it's called, with Al, where we continue exploring the real questions families face every single day. And if you have any questions, topics you would like us to discuss, or simply want to connect with us, please feel free to reach out to Al, 203-627-5533. I'll repeat that, 203-627-5533. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mariette Kammer. Thank you, Al, for your time tonight, and we'll see you next time on LifeTalk. See you real soon.